You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Canada retaliates, Mexico prepares backup as US President Trump's tariff on imports come into effect. Markets react with a free fall. Donald Trump keeps the window of hope ajar as he signals Ukraine mineral deal possible, set to reveal details of rare earth deal on Tuesday. A day after Europe announces ironclad support to Ukraine, US President Trump halts all US military aid to Ukraine, says US refuse to ensure aid contributing to a solution. Extraordinary Arab League summit on a plan to counter US proposal to take over Gaza and move its residents today. Arab foreign ministers chalk out plan in Monday meet. And in sports, India all set to face Australia in a high-voltage showdown in the first semi-final of ICC Champions Trophy in Dubai. Good afternoon to all our viewers joining us at this afternoon broadcast. To begin with the latest of the hour. The US will press ahead with steep tariffs on Canada and Mexico from Tuesday. Donald Trump has said, setting the stage now for a trade war with his country's two largest economic partners and severe retaliatory measures. We get you details in our next report. Take a look.
The gloves are off. After days of speculation in the US and hope across its northern and southern borders, US President Donald Trump is going ahead with his decision to impose sweeping 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada with effect from Tuesday, March 4th.
Tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs.
The tariffs from China will also be levied from 4th March. However, in a show of defiance, Trump has doubled the rate from 10% announced initially to 20%. The tariffs are scheduled to take effect on Tuesday. Trump had initially planned to impose the tariffs at the beginning of February but delayed the move after Canada and Mexico agreed to take certain steps on border control. All three nations have threatened countermeasures.
Comunicación permanente.
Whatever their decision is, we will also make our decisions, and there is a plan and there is unity in Mexico. That strengthens us a lot.
Y vamos a esperar qué pasa.
Canada announced retaliatory tariffs in a statement from Prime Minister's office. Canada said it will start with 25% tariffs on US imports worth 30 billion Canadian dollars from Tuesday, and thereafter an additional $125 billion worth in 21 days. It added that Canada's tariffs will remain in place until the US trade action is withdrawn, and if it is not withdrawn, provinces and territories will pursue several non-tariff measures. China has already announced tariffs on energy imports from the US. After the latest salvo by Washington, further retaliation is anticipated. Trump administration has imposed sweeping tariffs to boost home manufacturing that may or may not happen in the long term, but the short-term effects are already being felt in the way the decision has sent stock markets into a tailspin. After initial jitters, no one wants to hazard a guess for how long it will take to calm the aftershocks. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, China has swiftly retaliated against fresh US tariffs, announcing 10 to 15% hikes to import levies covering a range of American agricultural and food products and placing 25 US firms under export and investment restrictions. Now, the 10 to 15% hike were announced by Finance Ministry, while the Commerce Ministry in a separate statement said that Beijing is strongly dissatisfied and firmly opposes US unilateral tariff hikes. It added that China will firmly safeguard its legitimate rights and interests and is ready to work together to meet global challenges and oppose unilateralism. Chinese parliamentary spokesperson also held a press conference on Tuesday, during which he said that China will not accept threats and oppression, but is also willing to resolve U.S. concerns through consultation and dialogue. He added that mutually beneficial trade should follow World Trade Organization rules and any related disputes must be solved within WTO's framework. It further hoped that both sides can find solution on equal footing. Meanwhile, global stocks are plunging, bond yields are tumbling and currencies are fluctuating as the United States enacts new tariffs on Canada, Mexico and China. With investors fearing a worsening trade war, markets across Asia and beyond are feeling the impact. Here's a report by DD India's Harshita Oberoi. Take a look.
A colossal wave of sweeping US tariffs have triggered a tsunami in world financial markets. Markets across the globe have literally hit the panic button. In Asia, stocks opened sharply lower, mirroring the biggest losses on Wall Street this year. Japan's Nikkei nosedived to 2.2%, Taiwan's benchmark fell 1.3%, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng dropped 1.8%, with technology stocks the hardest hit. The global sell-off follows a steep decline in the US, where the S&P 500 slid 1.8%, the Dow Jones dropped 649 points, and Nasdaq plunged 2.6%. Currency markets also reacted sharply. The Canadian dollar and Mexican peso weakened, while China's yuan hit its lowest level since February 13th before rebounding. Indian markets also followed the global trend. The Nifty 50 opened below 22,000, plunging to a 9-month low. Mid-cap and small-cap stocks suffered steep losses. Investors fear further volatility as global economic uncertainty deepens. The threat of counter-tariffs and its domino effect on other markets and sectors are keeping the investors jittery. Trump announced tariffs in a flash, but the rumblings of the decision might be felt for many weeks. Harshita Oberoi, DD India.
US President Donald Trump signed an order imposing tariffs on Canada, Mexico and China, shutting down hopes of a last-minute deal. The tariffs, ranging from 20% to 25%, are expected to drive up prices for businesses and consumers, potentially impacting the American economy and global trade dynamics as well.
As Trump's tariffs on Mexico, Canada and China start Tuesday, economists and experts warn that these levies will lead to higher consumer prices, slower economic growth, and reduced employment opportunities in US itself. US President Donald Trump's sweeping duties, particularly on Canada and Mexico, are set to snarl supply chains for key sectors like automobiles and construction materials, risking cost increases to households. Experts now estimate that these tariffs would cut US economic output by 0.1% each, even before considering potential foreign retaliation. Some even believe that US tariffs could reach their highest levels since 1936.
We could easily reach the highest effective tariff rate since 1936 by the beginning of 2026 if these are to be continued. In terms of the demand and the supply side effects, these are so large and so different and they stack on top of each other. So there's a 25% tariff on steel and then there's another 25% tariff on top of it for steel coming in from Canada. That's a lot. And all of that can't be passed on to consumers, even though historically most of the cost of tariffs was passed on to consumers. At some point in time, you've got the manufacturers actually bearing the cost as well.
The automobile sector in particular is likely to face headwinds. Trump's tariffs announcement sent shockwaves through Windsor, Ontario in Canada, which is home to more than 250,000 people and is a hub of Canada's auto industry. Residents feel betrayed as fears of closures of factories mount.
We see over 3,000 people in here, and currently all 3,000 of those people's jobs are up in the air and left at the fate of Donald Trump and his tariffs.
I don't know if Donald Trump understands that what it'll do in the United States. I know he's been told, but he is playing with people's livelihoods. He's playing with my members' livelihoods.
While the markets are already reacting negatively to the levies, it may be a while before the full impact is visible to the entire economy, and possible countermeasures from Mexico, Canada, and China may add to the misery on both sides of the border. Bureau Report, TD India.
US President Donald Trump has suggested that a deal allowing US investments in Ukraine's minerals could still happen despite tensions with Kyiv. Now, this comes as European leaders have proposed a truce in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The Trump administration sees this deal as a way for the United States to earn back some of the billions of dollars given in aid to Ukraine. However, a recent Oval Office clash between Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has put the potential deal in doubt. Responding to a question on Monday, Trump hinted that the deal is not dead, describing it as a great deal for America. Further, he said that he would give an update on the situation on Tuesday night, also adding that Zelensky should be more appreciative of Washington's support.
What do you need to see from President Zelensky to restart these negotiations?
Well, I just think he should be more appreciative because this country has stuck with them through thick and thin. We've given them much more than Europe, and Europe should have given more than us because, as you know, that's right there, that's the border.
Since taking office in January, Trump has appended US policy on Ukraine and Russia, adopting a more conciliatory approach with Moscow, leaving Ukraine and European allies wary. In an interview on Fox News, Vice President J.D. Vance called on Zelensky to accept the minerals deal, adding that giving Washington an economic interest in the future of Ukraine is a security guarantee.
If you want real security guarantees, if you want to actually ensure that Vladimir Putin does not invade Ukraine again, the very best security guarantee is to give Americans economic upside in the future of Ukraine.
In another development, US President Donald Trump has ordered a pause on US military aid to Ukraine on Monday, following a tense Oval Office meeting aiming to push Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky towards peace talks with Russia. The White House has announced a review and temporary pause on aid to ensure it supports a peaceful resolution. The pause has gone into effect immediately and impacts hundreds of millions of dollars of weaponry in the process of being sent to Ukraine. All US military equipment not yet in Ukraine would be halted, including weapons en route by air or sea and those held in transit areas in Poland. Trump directed Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to implement the pause. US assistance to Ukraine includes military aid, budgetary assistance, largely delivered through a World Bank Trust Fund, and other funds that had been delivered through the US Agency for International Development, which has been throttled by the Trump White House. Arab League members will meet in Cairo on Tuesday to counter the US president's threat to take over Gaza and move its residents. The summit, convened by Egypt, aims at formulating a unified Arab stance on the Palestinian issue and present an Arab counter-proposal to US plans for the displacement of Gaza's population. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres will also join the Arab emergency meeting. Arab foreign ministers met in the Egyptian capital on Monday for a closed-door preparatory session centered on a plan to rebuild the territory without displacing its people. The plan will be presented to Arab leaders at Tuesday's summit for approval. Also, the Arab League summit on the territory's reconstruction comes a day after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu again gave his backing to Trump's plan, calling it visionary and innovative. US President Donald Trump last month proposed to take over Gaza and resettle its population to develop it into a tourist destination, an idea vehemently rejected by the Arab world and many other nations. Protests erupted in Bangladesh on Monday as demonstrators burned an effigy of Home Affairs Advisor Jahangir Alam Chaudhry, demanding his resignation over remarks allegedly justifying an attack on 2 women in Dhaka. Now, on the 1st of March, 2 women were reportedly attacked by a mob in Dhaka's Lalmatia area. One of the victims alleged that they were attacked for smoking. Outrage has spread across social media condemning the attack. Last week, Dhaka University students also staged protests demanding an immediate resignation of the Home Advisor, accusing him of failing to control rising crime. In Thailand's northeastern province of Nakhon Ratchasima, an unexpected and severe drought is unfolding, pushing water reserves to dangerously low levels. Regional governor has ordered urgent action across all 32 districts, focusing on securing water supplies, managing agricultural use and preserving waterways. Farmers have been urged to abandon off-season rice cultivation and switch to less water-intensive crops. With rainfall far below average, the province faces a tough battle ahead. We're heading for a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. After that short break, you're watching DD India Live. Now, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will participate in 3 post-budget webinars on Tuesday. These webinars are being held on Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises and as an engine of growth, manufacturing, exports and nuclear energy missions, regulatory, investment and ease of doing business reforms. Prime Minister will also address the gathering. The webinars will provide a collaborative platform for government officials, industry leaders and trade experts to deliberate on India's industrial, trade and energy strategies. The discussions will focus on policy execution, investment facilitation and technology adoption, ensuring seamless implementation of budget's transformative measures. The webinars will engage private sector experts, industry representatives and subject matter specialists to align efforts and drive impactful implementation of budget announcements. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will begin his 6-day official visit to the United Kingdom and Ireland from today. Now, India and the UK share a comprehensive strategic partnership which has strengthened across diverse areas including defence and security, trade and economy, health, education and people-to-people ties. During the visit, External Affairs Minister will also be holding discussions with his counterpart, Foreign Secretary David Lammy, and will meet several other dignitaries as well as Indian community members. Thereafter, on the 6th and 7th of March, the External Affairs Minister will visit Ireland. The two countries share friendly bilateral relations based on shared democratic values, cultural ties and growing economic engagements. External Affairs Minister will be meeting with his Irish counterpart, other dignitaries and members of the Indian community as well. External Affairs Minister's visit will provide renewed impetus to India's friendly ties with both the UK and Ireland. The 6th edition of the India-Japan Joint Military Exercise Therma Guardian is currently underway at the East Fiji Training Area in Japan. The 14-day exercise that concludes on the 9th of March highlights the deepening defence ties between the two countries aimed at enhancing cooperation. The primary focus of this year's exercise is counter-terrorism operations in urban terrain, a critical area of focus in the current security environment. Troops from both the nations are refining their tactics and improving their ability to conduct operations in complex urban settings. Additionally, the exercise includes simulated UN peacekeeping operations designed to replicate real-world scenarios where multinational forces must work together effectively in diverse and challenging environments. India remains Sri Lanka's top tourist source, accounting for almost 80,000 tourist arrivals in the first 2 months of 2025. The data released by Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority has revealed that 492,000 tourists were welcomed during the same period, which has been the second best after 2019. The average number of weekly arrivals in February rose to about 60,000, which is a positive sign for the debt-stricken nation that depends on tourism, apparel, exports and remittances. The Russia ranked second, followed by the UK in the top 3 tourist source markets after India. And now let's get you all the latest from the world of sports. To begin with cricket, India and Australia will face each other in a high-voltage showdown in the first semi-final of the ICC Champions Trophy at Dubai International Cricket Stadium today. The men in blue will be bidding for their third title after emerging victorious in the year 2002 and 2013 editions of the Champions Trophy tournament, and this will be India's 6th Champions Trophy semi-final appearance, and it will be featuring in a last 4 match for the 3rd consecutive time in the competition's history. Here's a preview of the match. Take a look.
The ground is ready for yet another India versus Australia clash. The stage is set for the ICC Champions Trophy semi-final, and the question is, will India pass the Australian test? Can India defy heads' brilliance, or will they be knocked out by the Kangaroos' punch? Both teams come into the high-voltage clash undefeated. India have won all their matches played in Dubai, while Australia won 1 match. Their other 2 matches were washed out. Although they don't have their frontline players in the squad, but senior players have taken the onus upon themselves. Even without their lead cast of Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood and Mitchell Starc, the Aussies are a resilient beast in global tournaments. Their stunning chase of 352 against England at Lahore a few days back validates the thought. History weighs heavily against India, but they would rely on a potent spin battery and familiarity with the conditions to break the knockout jinx against an undermanned Kangaroos. Their pre-tournament decision to fill the squad with 5 spinners drew a lot of flack from all corners, but it is now proving to be a masterstroke on the slow pitches in Dubai. The Indian spin quartet of Chakravarti, Kuldeep Yadav, Ravindra Jadeja and Akshar Patel walked away with 9 New Zealand wickets. Varun will be an unfamiliar customer to a large chunk of the Australian batting order. In the current Australian setup, only Glenn Maxwell and skipper Smith have faced Varun before. Maxwell batted against the Indian spinner in 6 Indian Premier League matches, scoring 46 runs of 30 balls, while being dismissed thrice. Smith encountered Varun just once, scoring 14 from 10 without being dismissed. India will likely bank on this element of mystery to gain a foothold in the game. In the head-to-head battle, India leads 2-1 from 4 encounters, with 1 match having no result. Talking about their recent meetings, Australia blanked India in 2023 World Cup final at home against the odds. India also lost in the semi-finals of the 2015 ODI World Cup and succumbed to them in the World Test Championship final in 2023. The last time India triumphed against Australia in the knockout stage of an ICC event was way back in the 2011 World Cup quarter-final. Overall, the India versus Australia semi-final could be a trial by spin contest and will also show which cricketing giant thrives under knockout game pressure. Sports Desk, DD India.
Australian captain Steve Smith expressed quiet confidence ahead of his team's high-stakes semi-final clash against India, acknowledging the challenge of facing an unbeaten opponent while emphasizing Australia's readiness for the conditions at Dubai International Cricket Stadium.
Everyone's good, everyone's ready to come and play. We feel like we're playing nicely, so we're looking forward to the contest. As we know, Travis has stood up in many of those in the past, and he looked in great touch the other night against Afghanistan, and I'm sure he's going to be looking to come out here and play the same way he's played for a long time, with good intent, good aggression, and hopefully he can get away in that power play and get us off to a nice start.
In tennis, Stefanos Tsitsipas returned to top 10 in the latest ATP rankings after his title-winning run in Dubai. The 26-year-old Tsitsipas, who has a career-high ranking of 3, beat Canada's Felix Auger-Aliassime by 6-3, 6-3 in the final to clinch his first title at the ATP 500 level. The Greek player had been out of the top 10 since May last year, but with the 12th title of his career, he moved up 2 spots to 9th. Auger-Aliassime moved up 3 places to 18th spot. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.
Welcome to Kumarakod, Kerala, God's own country.